Episode of Stories That Sell podcast. I have my favorite entrepreneur right now, Alexis Collins, with us. She is the founder and owner of Gains on the Go, which is a mobile protein bar for athletes to fuel them in a healthy manner instead of the nasty garbage that we as athletes have been fed our entire lives at tournaments, amongst other services. And I am so jealous that she came up with that concept before I did, which is why I have her as the first episode of this podcast, because I am ready to pick her brain on how she came up with this and talk about her business. So thank you so much for being on the podcast, Alexis. I'm super excited to have you if you can't already tell. Um, Before we talk about gains on the go, okay, I want to talk a little bit about you before entrepreneurship. Okay. Talk to me a little bit about, obviously you're an athlete, you're heavy into the gym, and you have grown up playing sports and loving sports. Tell me what role, like fitness, nutrition, sports, like what role did that play in your life growing up?
First of all, I'm honored to be here, be the first guest. So thank you. Love that you understand my business concept because I sometimes have to explain it and I'm like, I don't know how to explain it. So I tell people it's like an ice cream truck for protein. But anyways, uh yeah, so sports has been my whole life. I have very early childhood memories of being sat on the couch on Saturdays with I mean we had TVs where you had to click the TV, not the remote, not talking to the remote. You literally had to get up and turn the dial.
Yep.
Very early memories of childhood sitting next to my twin sister being introduced to sports and not asking, peppering my father with like what just happened, why this, I mean you name it. And my dad, who passed away last year, went to Michigan State. My mom went to Michigan, and so there was a lot of football talk in my household growing up. Also, because my older brother was less than zero interested in sports, and so by default, my twin sister and I had no choice but to get started there. So very early memories of just watching football. Um, and I didn't have an interest in playing that sport. Obviously, I wasn't seeing women play, but not my thing. We certainly watched basketball and baseball growing up. And so very early on, and they put us right in. I mean, we tried out soccer and I hated that. Running, not my thing. So got right
Same.
into basketball and softball. Those were the two that I picked up very early on. And I played with my twin sister. So I think too, I want to diverge just a little bit to that because there's a very interesting bond between twins. And you have twins as well. And so there's a dynamic there where you have a built-in best friend everywhere you go. And so you just
Yep.
can walk into rooms, you can walk onto teams when you're playing together. And you don't necessarily have to go bond with everyone else because you have that instant bond. It's a very interesting thing that I don't know my parents knew, and I don't know that anyone really thinks about, but it's like I didn't have to go make friends because I had one and she already knew everything about me. And so it's like I didn't feel the need to go. And so I say all that because I was thrown into team sports, right? And basketball, there's five people on your team. Well, okay, so her and I know each other without talking. So that's two out of five. And then on the softball field, we were playing. I was a pitcher most of my childhood, played a little bit of outfield, a little bit of infield. But, if you and your twin sister are some of the best athletes on the team and you're playing the main positions, again, that unspoken bond really helps you like just become better and make everyone around you better. And so it's an interesting dynamic to build into a team play where two people are so closely connected. Um, but I think the bond very early on, the team sport where, hey, like I can be good, but if everyone else sucks, it doesn't matter. Like you have to rely on those people, and how you show up for those people really matters because I can be a great pitcher, but I can't win a softball game without the eight other players on the field playing behind me. And so learning that I had to be good on my own and then show up to be better as a team. And I mean, it's stuck with me my whole life. And I think as a 40-year-old now, I wish I could go back to my 14-year-old self, which is partially how I created this business concept in and of itself. It's like, I think I knew back then the importance of that, but now the life wisdom I've gained into training and what that really looks like. I'm a way better athlete now as a bodybuilder and somebody that's very aware of my sleep, the importance of sleep into bodybuilding and the importance of nutrition and bodybuilding and the mental game, and this is just for bodybuilding, like for fun, because it's a goal. Like I wish I was chasing a championship. I am to some degree, right? Like I'm a winner, I'm competitive, but I wish I could take that now, bottle it up, and take it back to my 14-year-old self. And so I feel like this business is sort of vicariously getting me back to help that next generation. So
That's awesome. And yeah, I've thought about that too. And as far as like the twins and the competitiveness and things like that, and I actually prefer to split my twins up when we put them into events so that they can also like kind of just have that, their individuality of trying to go out and learn things on their own, but then also some of the team sports. They're still super young, they're only 3, but like I have one in gymnastics, another in swim. Like I have them kind of broken apart, but I'm very curious to see when they start playing team sports together how it interacts. But I also wanted to plug in based on what you're saying, it's really, really interesting to see twins play together. And I actually had like the luxury of being able to see that firsthand in college. So my last season before I played professional baseball, I played at Bruton Parker College for one semester. I didn't even play. I was ineligible because I transferred and lost a ton of credits, and we didn't catch it before the season started, and the winter classes already started. So I didn't get to play my senior year. Perfectly fine. But at Bruton Parker College, our middle infield was a set of twins, Derek Fox and Eric Fox. And it was like super, super inspiring to see them play together. They were both seniors. And it's also incredible to see their journeys now because um, I want to make sure I get the right person, but I'm pretty sure it's Derek. They're both getting plugged in onto this right now. But I believe Derek Fox is now the head coach of the Indianapolis Clowns in the Savannah Bananas League. He's been a coach with the Savannah Bananas for years now. And our other teammate, Tony Voro, just became the assistant coach of the Clowns with Derek. So it's great to see that. So, but yeah, it was so much fun watching both of them play together up the middle. And like they were definitely the core and kind of the almost the heart of the team, to be honest, watching it. So um, that's awesome. But my next question off of that, sorry to kind of go off track there, but it was interesting, hearing you talk about you and your twin play. But now that you've kind of gone from athlete into, I mean, still an athlete, but now as like almost a passion slash hobby turning into a business, um, you know, a lot of times fitness starts off as a hobby, right? Um, and a lot of people get in as a hobby. Maybe it's to get themselves in shape if they're out of shape. Maybe it's just because they're just like in love with the feeling of it. But it usually starts off as a hobby. But for some people, it starts to become an identity. So for you, I feel like that like the fitness journey has become part of your identity. Um, so do you think there was maybe a specific time or moment where like it stopped becoming a hobby for you and started becoming an identity? Or do you think it's still kind of a hobby for you?
it's a really interesting question that I'm like, when is that turning point? Because my journey, when I think about being an athlete, and I've sort of come back to that term, to be honest. So I didn't play in college. My ego got the best of me, and I thought I was better than a walk on. And so I did not play softball in college. I should have, not to like brag, but I was good enough to play. It was a different recruiting world and I didn't know it. And so I think I lost that little bit of identity, athlete identity in college. I had a great time. It was the first time I was no longer called by the wrong name, which was my primary goal at 18. I'm like, can somebody just call me the right name the first time they meet me? Like that was all I cared about, not being known as a twin. And so I kind of lost that athlete identity, and really, I was a gym rat. I was a cardio bunny, for lack of a better term, in college. I would get on the cardio equipment for an hour, and that was my workout. I knew nothing about training. Wasn't really interested in training. Again, at the time, to be candid, so out myself, 2003 ish. Like women were not doing that training. I mean, they might have been in college sports a little bit, but definitely not at the high school level. We were not training lifting on my and I was on a high, caliber travel team at the time. And so I think I lost that identity a little bit, and then very early on, something that will stick with me for the entire rest of my life is They talk about, and I don't have kids, but they talk about how kids learn behaviors from their parents. And my senior year, decided that when I graduated and went into the real world, that I was going to adopt. I wanted good habits and a good lifestyle. I was not graduating. My parents didn't put me to college to go F around. And so they packed their lunches every day. I saw that meal prep. It might not have been what I do now, which is like to the nth degree, but they were doing it. They didn't go out and buy lunch every day. And, they certainly had the means to. It was just not the way they operated. And I'm like, I'm going to do that. I'm going to prep my food every weekend. They were not gym people, which is very funny because my sister and tend to be very fit and into that, but that was certainly not adopted from them. But I did tell myself when I graduated that I would work out every day and make that a priority. And it very quickly in my career. So I started out in corporate America at Northrop Grumman, had a great job, loved it, great start. But very early on, I never knew when the day would end. And so it became this thing where I'm like, I'm going to go to the gym after work. And then I'd be tired and I'd be like, I'm not going. And very early on, I switched to waking up early at 6 a.m. I'm like, I got to take care of myself before I can help anybody else. And so it was definitely a hobby for at least, I would say, 15 years. And so sometimes I find myself like it's still a hobby because I still love it. It is not a chore to me to wake up every single day at 5 a.m. and go hit the gym. I do really struggle on the days like today where I'm supposed to rest because I love being there. It has become my favorite place. It's a safe place for me. I feel good about it. And it's my routine and my lifestyle. But so I don't consider that term athlete. I mean, I guess I am now, especially with a broken toe. I guess those injuries happen because you're an athlete. But I think I lost that identity a little bit. I do think it's still a hobby. And so it's interesting that you asked me this because to get to the answer of your question, the business doesn't feel like a job. I created my passion for this again comes from my 14-year-old self. I spent my entire high school weekends at softball tournaments all summer long. I knew nothing about nutrition and we didn't eat like crap, but we could because we were athletes and we were playing games. And so I truly have grown up to want to help my 14-year-old self. And I tell people all the time, if this business makes me no money, but I change someone's life, like I think that's awesome. And so I think that's what makes it still in my head a hobby. And I'm not, and maybe it's because I have other ways of generating income. And so it's not that like, you got to make money, you got to sell, because I'm so passionate. I'm easy to talk to about the topic. And I have already met and changed the lives of young girls. And there is no better feeling than that. And you can't put a price tag. You couldn't pay me to say, hey, I want, and I guess maybe you could someday for some amount, right? At some point, your time is worth money. But even if you pay me for that, it's the feeling you get inside of knowing that you helped somebody. That's the life-changing piece to me. And so is it a business? Is it a hobby? Maybe, but I think for me, it's my evolution of chasing a feeling of my dream life and my dream day. And I truly have chased this time freedom, which I have, that I want to wake up and do what I want to do every day. And whatever I get paid for that journey and that impact is great. But there is no better feeling than helping somebody change their life. And so it does not feel like a job.
Awesome. Well, so my follow-up question to that is, and this stems from you talking about like working corporate. A lot of people when they go corporate, they tend to fall off on nutrition. They tend to fall off in taking care of their bodies, right? Sitting at a desk like I am now for extended periods of time is like the worst thing you could do for your body. And so I speak from personal experience going from a professional athlete to someone who started working, I was working some physical labor jobs before I got into like a corporate setting and like a desk job and things like that when I got into insurance. But once I got into insurance, I gained so much weight. Nutrition went out the door, super tired all the time. I'm still out of shape. I'm getting myself back in shape. I've lost like 23 pounds in the last year. So I'm like back on the process now of getting myself on the right track. But maybe not you personally, but have you ever seen, or maybe you have had any personal frustrations or experiences with like uh, nutrition, the convenience of nutrition, or like fueling your body properly? Obviously, this goes back to like you fueling, athletes with your business. But like, what personal frustrations have you may have ever experienced with the nutrition, convenience, or just fueling people properly or fueling yourself properly that maybe other people might not see who
Yeah,
aren't happy
it's a
to?
great question. Especially I think because if you try to follow my journey, I mean, I'm not great at social media, I'm learning it, but I'm a whatever millennial, so I didn't grow up taking selfies and stuff, but it definitely self-fueled, right, from personal experience in life. I think very early on in my 20s, I had no idea about nutrition. I was spinning my wheels in the gym. And I actually gave this advice to my brother the other day because he asked for some help. And I said, you can't out train a bad diet. And people hate when you just throw that back in their face.
It's
But that
true.
was me for like, I would say my late 20s, early 30s. I'm like, oh, but I go to the gym every day and I really only have a cheat meal like Saturday night to Sunday morning. Like, isn't that good enough? And the reality is to get where you want to go, it's not. And no harsh feelings. It's just a matter of fact. You have to decide what your goal is. And I tell people this all the time when I have conversations. Decide what your goal is and how committed to you are. Certainly going back to the part where you're talking about, frustrations in corporate America. And convenience and food. Absolutely. I don't know. I've come to a very restrictive point in my time in my current life, given my goals and just the nature of that lifestyle. This has not been my lifestyle forever. The meal prep has, right? So I very early on started with like a meal prep Monday through Friday, Saturday and Sunday, whatever you want, kind of diet routine if you want to know. Um, Also, I do want to mention because I think context is important. I've weighed around 150 my entire life. And so I've never had to really know what it's like to be super overweight and out of shape. I'm grateful for
Oh,
that.
I could tell you what it's like.
I didn't. So I have so much empathy though for people that do because it's way harder. And I love supporting those kind of people however I can because I just think it's hard enough. And nobody wants to shove food in their mouth, however it happens, right? Whether it's emotional eating, whether it's something not being available. And so I do love helping people that have more to lose because I just think they need help and they need support. And it's sometimes embarrassing, right? But so if I look at my early career, I was packing my food Monday through Friday. When I traveled, I did not care. I was not doing some of the things I do now because it was just like find what you find. And again, over the years, the last 20 years, the evolution of what's in airports and available in airports certainly has helped, right? I mean, you can find healthy options now, which is great. In corporate America, when everybody worked 5 days a week in the office, some places had restaurants. Early on in my career, we didn't have DoorDash, though, by the way, or Uber Eats, right? So you had to go out and get food. And so, yeah, there absolutely is a convenience factor to that, where if you didn't pack food, you had to go offsite and get it. And that was taking time away from your job. And so I think that was another part where I was like, I'm packing food so I can go home at 5 o'clock or whatever the logic I had in my head was. Um, but certainly now, when I started taking nutrition seriously, probably about 10 years ago, early 30s, start to become more aware, right? Like, I think it just starts with an awareness in general. Like, how am I feeling? How am I fueling? How are these things related? What do I need to be doing better? And a lot of that comes from your surroundings. Who are the people that are close to you and how their lifestyle? Like, you adapt that. And a lot of people mindlessly eat. It doesn't matter what we're doing. Our societal culture, and I happen to love sports. I watch a lot of sports. I don't necessarily go in person, but I want to bring this up because our society like has it infueled in you that you got to eat and drink while you're being entertained. And it is a bad problem. It's a problem. You don't have to. And so I often laugh at myself because I will sit through an entire 3-hour baseball game. I will not get up to pee and I will not eat a thing. And it's just what I do. Obviously, it comes from
You built
scouting.
different. You're built different.
Obviously, I'm
I can't.
scouting baseball players when I was doing this. And so I didn't feel the need to scouts don't get up from the game, right? So it's a different vibe in
Yep.
general. But overall, I say all that because in the sports thing, people are mindlessly eating. So then we're training ourselves to be entertained and eat. And we take that behavior home and we do the same thing. Or we take it to our desk at work and we do the same thing. We're not hungry. We've lost the part about hunger cues. And we've lost the control of like having a meal plan at what it looks like. And I always tell people when I talk to them about advice, if I could give you one piece of advice, you have to find what works best for you and you have to start there. Don't it's okay to see what other people are doing, but your body is your body and it's going to react differently. And anything that you can do that you like, you're going to stick with. And I wish more people would start these conversations when you're talking about, well, I don't know what to do. That's fine. I can help guide you there, but don't pick up what somebody else has done just because they lost 100 pounds, because it might not work for you. And if it doesn't fit your lifestyle and your goals, it's never going to work for you. And I wish we started those conversations with, let's figure out what you do now and what works for you and how we change your habits. But yeah, it's certainly convenience is the biggest thing. It wasn't available. And so that, obviously was a thing when I was playing sports. There was a snack bar, if we were lucky, full of crap. And so it just was available. And over time, as it evolved, I would say in my early 30s, I started to carry food. I would travel with food. I would pack bags. I would ship food to a hotel. It's funny looking back now because I never thought I was like ahead of the curve, but I definitely now look back and I'm like, wow, like people just weren't doing this. And it just like became trained behavior. Like I see people now all the time. I think it's great. Can I take this through TSA, whether it's a bag of protein powder or like, will they get this? And I'm like, oh, like it's catching on. Like people are actually starting, and it
Yeah.
translates now after TSA, you can get a bunch of things that are, high in protein. But I had no idea at the time that I was like kind of just doing this on my own and it hadn't really caught on. But certainly,
Yeah.
yes, to get to the point where I am now, sparked by not having options available.
I feel like social media kind of plays a role in one kind of the progress that we're seeing in a lot more people kind of putting their health first. I just saw something like 2 days ago where like this generation is like the least consumption of like alcohol, cigarettes, like everything like ever. And I feel like a lot of people are going to social media, at least on my feed. I mean, obviously the algorithm feeds you whatever it is you want to see, but I'm seeing a lot more people kind of get into their fitness journeys, and try to put their health first. And a lot of times there's always like triggers behind it if they haven't been like, putting fitness first. Sometimes it's the birth of a first child, right? Sometimes it's like a marriage. Sometimes it's just like lost a job, free time, whatever the
Divorce.
case may be, right? Yeah. So I mean, like there's always usually a trigger point as to why people put fitness first. But my question to you is like, why do you think that fueling athletes and kind of like people who are professionals and busy, why do you think it's still such like a broken thing when it comes to like fueling yourself the right way with proper foods and nutrition, despite how big fitness has kind of become? Because I mean, you really can't go anywhere without there being at least a gym or two on like within every quarter to half mile. Like gyms are like really available. People are starting to realize, and I feel like it's because of social media, because it's like in front of everyone's face. But why do you think it's still so broken despite there being so much access to it? Because I feel like the fitness journey is one part, but like how you feed yourself is where you're going to see the most results. Like the gym will make you look nice, but the food will help you shed the weight, the unhealthy weight, and that's the part that everyone misses. Why do you think that is?
It's a great question. And I think it's funny because I think as much as social media opens your world, I think it also shows you how small the world is. And I say that because, like, let me take you back to very early in your life just to think about for a second. Like, how were you exposed to the gym? And then how were you exposed to like the idea of fueling sports, right? Like, that's how
Yeah.
you found out about it. And I think it's important. It's a great question, but not everybody's into sports. Like, my brother is
Yeah.
not athletic. And there are plenty of kids that are artsy and into other things. And I'm not saying a discredit to my brother. It's a very good catalyst for me to see other lifestyles to figure this out, right? But
Yeah.
there are so many people out there that are not athletic. And so when I think about who's in the gym, it's former athletes. There might be young women that are inspired by stuff on the internet that are like, again, cardio bunnies. I think that to me is definitely an influence. But I think outside of that, people don't find this. They don't find, it's not like we don't teach people like what's important in life. And I could go off in a whole nother direction about like, I wish I was told at like in an age where I could have like been informed, like, you got to figure out what's best for you. You need to focus on, and it's interesting because it's all from entrepreneurship where I learned all this. And I'm like, this is what I should have been taught at 18. Like, it's about your family, your fitness, your faith, like all of these like pillars. And I
I
wish
mean, I mean, but sorry to interrupt, but like think about it also, like back then for us, I mean, I don't know, maybe your parents are way more intelligent than mine, but like for me as an athlete growing up, a healthy drink was like a Gatorade. Like you need
oh
to have
yeah,
your Gatorade. And I'm
oh
like
yeah,
looking at it
it
now, I'm
still
like,
is.
that's like one of the worst things I could have had.
It still is. But again, so let's talk about how I'll share my experience being educated on health and nutrition. Somewhere in a trailer in elementary school, some gym teacher said some stuff. That's literally what I remember. I guarantee it told me nothing. And as we've now learned, not to get into politics, but they did come out this week with a new flipped, for lack of a better term, food pyramid, which I'm like, all right, progress. Uh, I don't recall any of what I was taught about nutrition. And I certainly wasn't fed anything in my sports career, which again is another reason for my company. Like that was not taught to me through sports. And so I think it's a big thing where we're not really taught to make like focus on your health. Health is your wealth. You have nothing without it. And I preach that. I wish for the rest of my life I will preach it. And I wish every young person could understand it. You can't, it's very hard without life experience to appreciate something. Totally get it. And I share that with the young girls that I talk to now. I try to instill that thing of gratitude, right? Like it's okay to be grateful even if you don't really know that like you have a great life. And I have a daily experience with that where I'm telling the kids I work with like you guys are so lucky, you have no idea. And they don't, right? Their world is so tiny. But it's okay to teach them gratitude at a young age. Hey, you have your health. Hey, you can wake up and run out of bed. And there are some people that can't. And I find that there's nothing wrong with telling young people, hey, you have it great, like just to give you perspective, right? Because they don't know. And it's not bad. It's just they don't know. They don't know how good they have it. They don't know how healthy they are because they've never seen not healthy. Uh,
Yeah.
and so the biggest thing for me is that we're still not telling people to take care of themselves. Again, not to be political, but our healthcare system makes money off sick people. So why are we going to promote in our marketing? Our marketing these days, when I'm watching sports is about peptide injectables to lose weight. Like we're so focused on have the problem, have the problem, have the problem so you can pay us to fix it. Instead of like, how do I prevent the problem? What if we talked about how to prevent the problem? And so that to me is the backwards like marketing strategy where it's like, no, we want to make money off you when you're sick instead of telling you how to not make money off us at all. And so I very candidly, I just think people don't know that that is something they should do. And I does not matter how educated you are. I think people have no idea, then it becomes a time management thing. Well, how do you work this and you have kids and you do this? And, as you know, from knowing me personally, I have a zero excuses mentality. I am very disciplined with my time for the most part and very strict, and I will not negotiate with myself. And my health is a non-negotiable. I will not compromise. If I have to find another time, I will do it. But I've just come to a point in my life where like I do not take for granted that I feel good when I wake up. And it's not anything like I'm not better than you, but yeah, you damn right I take care of myself and I take pride in how much I do to take care of my health and it matters. And because I do that, I can wake up every day and help everyone else. And I just, sometimes I put myself on my 80-year-old deathbed and I'm like, what would you think about? How do you want to feel? Right. Get some of that retrospective feeling in my head. Like I did it all when I was able to, right? Like if you can wake up and do that. And I just wish that we would tell people this stuff. They just don't know. And so my algorithm feeds me a lot of fitness stuff, but I'll just never get sick of seeing it because I think the whole world, there's such a big world out there that doesn't know. And to be candid, there's so much bad information out there that kills me because, and I tell this all the time, there's so many products, right? And people want to sell products and make money off people. I do not care what product you buy. I care about the habits you create to help yourself. And so it's through that stuff. If you get a product from me because you think it's great and it helps you, that's great. If you go with some other one, that's great. But if I got you to drink more water, if I got you to eat more protein, awesome. Awesome.
I love that, and that's perfect because it goes into my next question for you, which is when you're building gains on the go, right? And you decided to make a mobile protein bar as like kind of the core thing, right? What made you decide to kind of partner? Because for those who don't know, like First Form or Form Energy, I think it's now called, right? Is your partner that you are using and selling their product. What made you use that as kind of the core differentiator in what you were going to offer as a service with Gains on the Go, as opposed to just maybe going out and creating your own protein brand?
Yeah, great question. And quick plug because I have it next to me. Form Energy, new flavor, awesome stuff. Check it out if you haven't. Happy to send you some if you need some. Uh, Great question. And ironic because I've long seen a lot of people pick with, various products. I've tried various products and I told myself I would never sell out for a company. I don't care about making a dime from a product. And I came across First Form in general. I came across Andy Frisella through 75 Hard. For those of you who don't know, the Mental Toughness Challenge, it's free. Actually, probably this time of year, there's a lot of people that have recently started with January 1st. So I came across that about 5 years ago. And in part of my journey to live my dream life, and have time freedom, I wanted to be able to exercise in the middle of the day. And so I started doing the behaviors of 75 Hard, which I have completed the program 3 times now, the last 3 years. So what are we? It's 2026. So 23,
26.
24, 25. I have done 75 Hard. I've also started to do the phases of the Live Hard program. But I loved 75 Hard is a great challenge. Again, if you haven't done it, highly encourage the mental toughness piece. We're missing that too. I mean, you want to talk about getting in the gym, but it's a mental toughness piece where you just can't negotiate. You got to get it done. If it's 10 o'clock at night, if it's 2 a.m., you got to go. But I loved that non-negotiable thing. I loved to get it done. I loved doing the work. And so I fell in love with 75 Hard. And then I started listening to Andy's podcast. I started to find some people that were in the First Form world. And what drew me to the company was their core values. It was nothing to do with how a product tastes. I think anybody can make a product taste like anything because, to be candid, so many products have so much crap in them and people just don't know what ingredients. They're like, oh, buy a protein powder. And I actually happen to have one right next to me. So I am going to throw this up there. I have protein powder, but I think it's important. Like, it's not the flavor. Like, this is some brand new flavor, whatever, but it's like, what is on the label? Go read the label. And like, these companies just can throw anything in there. And people are like, oh, I'm taking a protein powder. I'm like, that's great. Do you know what's in it? Because you're ingesting crap. And what I learned about First Form, it's like helping real people get real results. And I'm like, wow, a supplement company that's actually not selling their product, they want you to get results. Oh, by the way, they have these core values, about doing the right thing when nobody's looking and all of this stuff where it was like, wow, this is me. Like, these align with my own core values. Like, I don't have to be somebody else or do anything. And they're not telling me I have to sell their product. Tell me more about your company. And I had a dream to go out there, a couple years later. I'm like, oh, let me go see what they're all about. And last year I happened to go out there twice, once for an event and see the facility, which is absolutely incredible. And then to their Summer Smash event, which was their 10-year anniversary. They call it like their customer appreciation party or their staff, whatever. And to truly see that culture up close and in person, I'm like, wow, this is like me. This is like where I fit in with my people. And so it was a no-brainer. I didn't know, to be honest with you, when I started the vision for the company, that that's how this was going to go. I wasn't even sure. I was anti-partnering with a company because I just didn't want to. I didn't know that they would do it. And so I had some conversations and they were like, yeah, we'd love to, supply your business with our products. This is great. And I happened to meet somebody else who had a similar concept, not the exact same. And, we talked and became friends about how he did that in Arizona, which is awesome and cool to see that, there's a vibe and a need. And we had a similar journey to getting to that. And so it's been cool to have a product that I can like confidently speak in, right? And it's like, it's not just a sale to make a dime. It's like, I know the ingredients are good, but more, I know this product cares about their people. And that's special. Like, that in this day and age is just special. Like, to appreciate your customers and truly care. Like, that's who I am personally. And so to feel like I'm like through my business, supporting a business that operates that way, it just feels easy. And I am going to wholesale when I get these snack products in and figure out kind of how that works and bring expanded menus to the business. But I'm just so hesitant, right? To like, who am I giving my business to? Who am I supporting? Because I do have core values. I do pride myself on the person I become, how I operate, how I, talk to people, all how I behave, like who am I, my character integrity matter more than anything else to me. And so it's been awesome to be able to work with them and supply their products and, ultimately share them with the world. Cause I think that they're still growing and expanding and people have no idea who they are. And so that's been fun as
Yeah.
well.
And I love that answer because I do think that like partnering with the right people is so important when you're first starting off. Like, it's very easy to have an entire business thrown off the rails if you have the wrong partner. So that's awesome. Now, my question is, you have a very untraditional business. It doesn't really fit like kind of like neatly into like brick and mortar or e-com. You can do brick and mortar, you can do e-com with it, but it doesn't like that's not what your business is built around. Have you had any fear in kind of creating a business that doesn't fit into either one of those, where traditionally most businesses these days kind of do fit into it? And I ask that because the type of business that you have requires so much travel. And in a situation like now where you have like one less toe, travel is probably not the most fun thing you could be doing. So, did you have any fear, kind of building that out, and what did that kind of
So that's a great
transition into?
question. And I guess it's kind of funny because I think this is me as an entrepreneur. And again, maybe not knowing that this is like normal because I just assume that entrepreneurs kind of feel like they're on an island. So I don't know how much we've talked about my other businesses, my other entrepreneurial history. So I'll go back a step just real quick. Early on, about 10 years ago, someone tapped me at a corporate job and said, "Hey, I think you'd be great in the entrepreneur world. Have you ever explored it?" And I'm like, "No, what are you talking about?" That came from a place of like, I'm a problem solver. I wake up every day and like, give me the problems and let's go. And that's why I ultimately just didn't work in corporate America because I was just bored. And so I started in financial literacy, helping a business with an app. And I knew nothing. I worked for free that was my 5 to 9. I was like, oh, well, okay, at night, like I'll help you. Not knowing, again, that's what's so funny to me about my 30s. I didn't know that people were doing this. It wasn't on the internet. I was just like, this is how I figured out how you do it. And I wish somebody could have mentored me a long time ago, but here we are. Uh, and so I started financial literacy. And then I got into baseball scouting, which wasn't really a business on its own, but it was a passion. So I love sports and I was bored. And the financial literacy thing, I just decided wasn't really for me. I wasn't in love with the concept of giving away my time for free, but I had a ton of free time. And my twin sister works in sports. My husband at the time worked in sports. I'm like, why am I not working in sports? Like, I love them. I have a background in computer science. I was like, oh, I should go get into baseball because I love it. I married my ex at Fenway Park. Awesome wedding during the All-Star break at Fenway. So that was super cool. But so I decided to get into sports and I scouted baseball players in the minor leagues and major leagues, Arizona Fall League, spring training. I was all over the country traveling to baseball games. It was awesome. I'll plug myself and give a little credit in that part of the journey. I did get offers from front offices to work in teams and ultimately didn't take those opportunities, probably led me to where I'm at now. But it was a dream come true. That was so awesome and entrepreneurial in its own way that I was like paving a path at a time where there weren't a lot of women working in baseball. And that wasn't part of my story. It was just like, okay, I'm a woman and I like baseball. So whatever. And I want to scout. I love what I learned. Great. I'd still do it if I could, maybe one day get back into it. But for now, that part of my journey is on hold. But my next entrepreneurial thing came at the winter meetings in 2021. I met my former business partner. Yeah, 2019. Wow. I had always questioned if I could start a business on my own. I don't know, lack of confidence maybe, but I just didn't know what I didn't know. And that's a question I've always said. I don't know what I don't know. And sometimes I'm an analyst, it paralyzes me. But so I met this man and we, instantly talked about sports. And I'm like, oh, like maybe he's a little bit older than me. He could help me. Like he's the sales guy to my techie, right? He's the visionary. I'm the operator. And so we worked together and We helped somebody else with a digital advertising bench for a couple years, and then ultimately decided to go out on our own and start a college athlete company. And I say all of this to share that college athlete company, which I'm still passionate about and still working on, was not in a niche at all, right? People would say to me, well, like, what's your company? I'm like, we're not NIL. We're not in name, image, and likeness. We're not that. And we're not like an agent. We're like creating our own lane. And so I guess I've found myself now creating businesses that are in my own lane. And my other ideas on my dream business list are not in any lanes. It's just the way I think, I guess, that like I'm creating these new lanes, probably making it harder on myself to start up. Like sometimes I'm like, wouldn't it just be easy if I was just like some closer for somebody where they just like said, this is what you do? No, I'd rather make it hard, create a new lane for myself. And so I say that because we spent 3 years working on this college athlete company. It was a social network for college athletes, and it grew and it became a thing, and it just didn't go where I saw it. And so I kind of have paused that for now. I'm rebranding and working with some other people on that concept to bring that to life. But again, not in a lane. And so people didn't know. And so I think that experience has helped me get to where I am now, where I find myself again in between. Because people are like, mobile protein bar. Is that like you created your own protein bar? Is that, and I'm like, and that's why I immediately say it's an ice cream truck for protein, because the minute I can put something in your head that you know of, you're like, oh, okay. So it's like a snack bar on wheels or whatever, however you think of an ice cream truck concept. And
Yeah.
so I'm just used to not having a lane. And so I don't even know, I honestly don't know what it's like to have a lane. But I think
Yeah.
the
So
other piece
it's
of
just
that,
normal to you at this point.
it's
It's just
normal to me
just
that
day to
like
day.
I don't know where I fit in. I sometimes don't know how to explain it. Like people love to give me forms to fill out when you're doing business stuff. And I'm like, I don't fit your 10 options. Like I'm different. I'm just different. And so I'm used to having to over explain sometimes because I find that I'm creating concepts that don't fit what people are familiar with.
That's a good place to be. That's exactly where you want to be. You don't want to fit in with anyone else. You don't want anything that's duplicatable. You don't want anything that's and also you being the face is like also a huge differentiator because your personality is so different than like most people. Like you're very, very driven, but also very easy to talk to. Like this is a really, really good podcast episode that we're recording right now. Like it's very, very easy to to ask these questions. Um, and I think that like having a strong leadership like quality to you is what's going to help you drive. And also you have like the ADHD entrepreneurship brain. Like I don't know if you've noticed this, but like if it seems a little bit like every time you have a good idea, you're like, fuck it, let's go, let's try this thing. And I love that because I'm the exact same way. Like I've owned everything from like everything I've been passionate about, I've owned some type of business around it. I had a glove relacing business because I love baseball gloves and relacing gloves, and obviously I played baseball. I've owned a coffee business, like drop shipping coffee, because I love coffee. Like I've done it all. Like own minority owner in a professional soccer team because I was like, I want to be in professional sports as an owner somewhere. Can't own an entire company, but I found a great opportunity to be a minority owner. Did that. Like I've kind of gone that same route and I see that same thing with you. And that's like really nice to see because there's not a lot of people like that I've come across where I'm like, oh, I get this person. I understand this person. So
Wait till you
like
see
when
my
it comes
next
to
move. Wait till you see my next move.
I
I
can't
can't,
wait.
I literally don't have bandwidth for it, but oh my God. I'm gonna try and get it off the ground in parallel. I know like I shouldn't. I totally have ADHD brain, but if I can do it, like, oh man, it's a game changer. There's ripples talking about it, but I'm like, ain't nobody doing it. Just do the work, and you can get there. So we'll see. I have big plans for myself in 2026. But yes,
Good.
ADHD brain is totally me, and the idea is yes, and I do because it's easier to do when you have a passion. When you're passionate about it, it's not a job. It's not a job.
Just fun. It's building. It's building something that you love. And that's
How you
exactly what it
want,
is.
like how you want. There's no
Yeah,
rule.
no one to tell you,
Nobody's
no
telling you
one can
what to
tell you
do.
how to do it and how not to do it. It's yours. But it fails with you, it succeeds with you, but at the end of the day, no matter what the results are, it's yours.
And you
And
could say
that's,
you did it. That's the thing too.
yeah,
I'm 80. What did you do? I tried all the things I wanted to try.
yeah,
I can live with that.
no regrets. Not even a single letter. So, all right. So with this business, what would you say this business taught you about kind of leadership that maybe like, and we're talking about games on the go specifically. What has that business taught you about leadership that maybe you wouldn't have learned any other way? Like only games on the go could have taught you about leadership.
I mean, definitely rises and falls with yourself. I do though. It relates to me being a pitcher. When I was on that mound, I had to throw the pitch to initiate the game. And I feel like I'm back on that pitching mound again. Like you got to throw the ball so that you can play the game. And the business doesn't move if I don't move. Like nothing happens if I don't do. And so that has been very surreal coming from a place where I was way overdoing for years, doing all the work. And I think towards the end of last year, I was like, I'm tired. I am tired of doing. And so I allowed myself to just pause, just catch your breath. Like the business will be there. It's not going anywhere. No one's gonna magically take over if you take a few days off. And so it's been humbling. It's been a learning experience for me to slow down and be okay that like the business is still there. You can still go do what I'm doing right now. I'm actually reading a book by Nicole. I forget her last. I think it's Nicole Brown. She's the agent for the Eagles quarterback. And she talks about, like chasing her dream. And it's just kind of interesting how she talks about like, having this plan and this list. And I'm right there right now where I'm like, all right, who are my calls? Because every day I got to be making calls. Like where, and it's just me narrowing my focus a bit. Like that's what I wanted to come back to when I was like, okay, I'm ready to have space to pick this back up. 2025 was just a really big year for me in my personal life. A lot of change, a lot of whatever. And ironically enough, the gym is kind of what got me through all of that. And so I just needed to catch my breath by the end of the year. And I'm like, just refocus. It will be there. Gains on the go will be there when you're ready to like go. And so, I was kind of joking with you earlier. It's like, well, I need to redo my website. And I just want to narrow my focus on what Gains on the Go is really going to provide because my ADHD brain wants to provide 10 things because I can. Because every time I have a conversation, it's like, okay, what problem do you have and can I solve that problem? And then it's like another service I offer. Like, and I didn't think about it because a lot of it's just my natural behavior. Oh, you need help with this?
Yeah.
Let me help you. Oh, I can do that. Oh, I can do that. Oh, I can do that. Like, no, I am one person. I'm one person. And so that's really what it's taught me about leadership. And I'm very interested to see because I know once I start putting in, back in sort of my time and effort and energy into this, and having to be pulled a lot, like that's where the tug and the leadership's going to come from. Again, the softball pitcher thing, because I go there, like that's where I go. That's me. I'm the pitcher, right? And I gotta start is like then you got to worry about building the team around you when the time is right. And I need A players. I can mold and behave, but there are some intrinsic things. Again, being this entrepreneur for Gains on the Go has taught me entrepreneurship in general, but really now Gains on the Go, where I am doing this by myself for the first time in my life. I'm just built different. And I've learned I didn't really know that. I mean, it's not a confidence thing. It's just like, wow, I really am disciplined. Like people tell me this and they say this to me, and I'm like, but this is just me. Like, this is just me, guys. I don't know what to say. But I am trying to turn that into like, that's my superpower. Like, that is your thing. Like, people just don't operate like you. And it's a compliment in the highest regard. It's just like channeling that and doing something with it. Like it's my normal life and my behavior, but like, okay, let's take that. Let's take that. And so learning that that's not an intrinsic behavior that everybody comes with. And so it's like,
Yeah.
okay, how am I
It's
going to use that?
it's tough when you're an entrepreneur because like we were just saying earlier, you have the ADHD entrepreneurship brain where it's like, I need to add the service, I need to do this business, I need to follow this hobby, and it's very easy to get pulled away. But then on the other side of it, you're also incredibly disciplined with yourself and what you do, and that kind of drives the story of who you are and what you're looking to accomplish. It feels like it's just part of the story of like the end result, the goal of what you're trying to accomplish, which is to fuel athletes and really put like that forward message of your body is your temple and you need to take care of it with the right products. It's so interesting to see like because two completely opposite ends, right? Like I got to do everything. I'm a squirrel, and then like no, we only need to do what we need to do the right way in this order. Like, so you're battling those two things, and I've dealt with that myself, but you're doing it at like a much higher level because like the gym is a whole gym, food is like it's so difficult, and I know that you've kind of like you've had that embedded at a very early age. I didn't. I come from a Puerto Rican family where all they want to do is just feed you all day. And I unfortunately was like every other teenager who was an athlete, where very high metabolism. So no matter how much I ate, it just shed right off anyways, because I was just playing sports 24/7. But then once that metabolism catches up to you as you get older, it just
Well,
packs
it's
on.
cultural though, I think too.
Yeah.
Like I was raised in a Jewish family. Every time we gathered, we ate. And I think something I've learned in my journey too that is really important for people who are on their health journey, and I'm going to bring it up because again, the time of the year, and I think a lot of people are, is nobody cares what you eat and drink. Nobody cares. And I wish that I had really truly understood that like a long time ago, because there are so many times you go to family events, and certainly after the holidays. So I think this is important for people to hear too, is like nobody cares. Nobody cares if you have that alcoholic drink. Nobody cares if you have the food. I will put a side tangent in there for those people that are sober and are, not drinking, which I commend and respect and have so much admiration for, and you're like, oh, should I, it's harder, right? And I just want to acknowledge and understand that that can be harder. But I'm talking, this is more about for people on a health journey that are like worried about some of that stuff, is like, you can show up to a social event and not eat or drink. It's about you being there. It's the relationship piece, and we've just intermingled that behavior so much in our various cultures to varying degrees that it's like become a norm. Like, oh, we're going to gather so we have to eat. And it's like, well, we don't have to. I I bring meal prep. My mom will ask, she's like, are you bringing your food into the restaurant? Or like, I'm like, oh mom, like I'll leave it in the car. Or and out of love, it's never like a dig. And my family, thank God, they fully support and respect that I, am on this journey chasing this goal, because it's obviously harder when you don't have that family and support. But it's so important. I wish people really understood that like nobody cares about that, because you overthink, and like you can show up to an event with your own food. Like there is nothing wrong with that. And again, it's just like societal norm and societal pressure and societal whatever. No, do you live you however you want to live. And if that's your goal, then just live that and do that. And I wish more people could understand that, because they give themselves a reason to fall off that is really not a real reason. Like there is no reason for you to eat all that stuff except that it's available. It's available. And so you're going to consume it by default.
100%. I love that. I love that. So my last part before we finish here, leave the viewers of this episode with the most important one-liner that you could give them. What's the most important piece of advice that you could give anyone who's watching this right now?
Failing to prepare is preparing to fail. That is my MO. I live by it. It has grown and evolved so much. Candidly, I will not go the next day without being ready before. And I didn't really know how much I did that until I moved in with my girlfriend. And she, like my childhood friend, I never had somebody else watching my routines, right? And so she'll tell me, like, wow, you do all of these things to set yourself up for the next day. And I had no idea. My gym clothes are out the night before. My water bottles are prepped the night before. I will not wake up without all of my food prepped for the day. Like and so again, I wake up and that stuff's just done. I don't even have to think about it. And when you set yourself up like that for a day, you can handle all the things that life is going to throw at you. Look, life is so hard. I feel like I really leaned into that and learned that the hard way in 2025. But I really found that because I prepare for my days, the things that I can't control are much easier to handle because I've controlled everything I can control. I've set myself up to get through that. I don't have to think about food. I don't have to decide what I'm going to wear. Like, and those things, again, they don't matter per se, but when you have to think brain power to think about them, it takes you away from everything else. And so because I do that up front and I wake up and I'm like, okay, I have my not, my stuff is ready. The gym is my non-negotiable. I just execute. You just got to execute. And so you want to get to a point, again, I go back to habits, right? But that's really where it comes from. And I think that is what has allowed me to be so disciplined in my time freedom, which is the dream that I have, is like, you do all of these things so you can have this. And that's really that is the secret sauce. If you want to ask, like, what is it? That's my secret sauce.
I love that. How can anyone who wants to get in contact with you or support your business, how can they get a hold of you?
Great question. I am located in I currently live in Virginia, so I am operating out of the DMV for those of you Northern Virginia people. So certainly looking to attend events, gyms, any type of stuff, connect with teams in the area. Willing to travel a lot for now because I like traveling. So if you want me to come set up, certainly willing to talk about that. I do have an Instagram account, Gains on the Go. I do have a Facebook business page, Gains on the Go. I'm Alexis Collins. I am on Facebook and Instagram, so you can find me and find my stuff. I'm working on social media, give me grace, but I exist now, so go find me. I'm happy to respond. If you message me, I will respond because I believe in that, I like talking to people about this stuff, obviously, but yeah.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you so much for taking the time out of your day to do this podcast episode. I'm really, really excited for you and what you're going to bring to the masses with this business. Like, uh, I think I've kind of already shown how excited I am for you with this business. It's awesome. So, once again, thank you so much for coming on, and we will talk to you soon.
Thank you.